Welcome everybody to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Chancellor Bernard Gleaton. I just want to take a quick moment just to let you guys know that I really appreciate you guys for checking us out here at the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. All right. Now, the reason why I'm coming to you guys is because, one, I wanted to let you guys know that I want you to share, like, and comment to spread the word. Spread the word to everybody that you know who is an entrepreneur or who is trying to be an entrepreneur, because we always got something special for them. If they are trying to become successful, we got the keys to success from our guest professors. So it's always good for you guys to spread the word for them to get those keys of success as well. The second thing I wanted to let you guys know is that we now have a store where you can buy ebooks and courses. We have online courses and ebooks to help you become an entrepreneur or take your business to the next level as an entrepreneur. All right. You can check that out at www.genesisprojectpodcast.com. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the classroom so that we can listen to this new lesson that our new guest professor has for us today. So I will see you guys in the hallways.
Hey, welcome to the School of Hard Knocks. I am your Chancellor, Bernard Gleaton, and I have a couple of guests here, one of them being my grandbaby here. So if you guys hear him and see me rocking him and doing stuff with him, then you know why, because I got him here. So he's making his debut today. So with that, I just wanted to say that this lesson, I think, is going to be one of the most powerful episodes yet. So if you guys don't know who I am the Chancellor Bernard Gleaton. This is the Genesis Project Podcast, business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. Now, coming into the classroom is a guy that I've known for, I want to say, maybe a few years. We've bonded, and me and this guy actually met in a men's group called Bomb Squad. And he's definitely going to talk about it. But I just want to let you guys know that this guy, I love these transition moments, right? He's going to talk about it in his Genesis moment. But I love these transition moments because this brother here is definitely in a transition moment of his life. And when he told me about what was going on and what he's actually pivoting to do, I said, okay, I got to have you on the show. Let's talk about this. So this is going to be as real, as raw, and as powerful as I'm almost positive it will be. So with that being said, let me go ahead and bring into the class our guest professor for today, guest professor Phil Munroe. Say what's up to the class.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you, Chancellor Gleaton. Thank you for having me in the class to talk to everyone today.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm glad that you're here. We've talked extensively off air, and we're about to talk extensively on air. But some of the things that made me want to bring you onto the show was because the lessons that you learned, from everything that you've been through, I think will be completely and totally transformative for my audience, for the classroom today. So, man, I'm anxious to go ahead and jump into this. I know you've been messaging me all week saying, "Oh man, I'm super excited to come on. So you finally here, brother. How you feel?"
Man, I'm just great to be able to teach a lesson here that I'm still going through and learning myself. There's
Man,
going to be some revelation moments going on for me in this classroom as well. So
I can't wait. We're gonna experience this together, so you're not by yourself on that.
I appreciate it.
So just so the classroom could know a little bit about you, man, I want you to go ahead and tell the class a quick bio on you, and then we go ahead and we can jump into it.
Yeah, so I'm 48 years old, and my whole career has been in the restaurant business. I spent 33 years in the restaurant business, full service, full dining, fine dining specifically. My career started in the kitchen. I'm a chef by trade. I went to culinary school, went to food service management school, and I just started on my career back in the early mid 90s of embarking on this restaurant journey. And I climbed a ladder of success, and I got up to the general manager level of restaurants. And the last 20 years, I've been general manager, managing partner in various different operations. That brought me to, my latest job was managing partner of the Capitol Grill in Troy, Michigan, in the Somerset Collection. And that was probably one of the busiest restaurants in the country, probably one of the most lucrative positions you can get as far as a managing partner goes in the country. And man, I thought I had it all put together, and I thought I was living the way life should be lived. And man, then just things happen, and you learn things about yourself, and you start discovering things along the way, and you realize that you need to make a shift. And so I'm brand new into a pivot. January 10th was my last day in the restaurant business after 33 years. And I'm embarking on a new journey now. And it's been amazing.
Man, I have not had the opportunity to come and check you out at the Capitol Grill. And for all of you guys who are in the classroom, he is a fellow, I guess you could say, Metro Detroiter. So he's here in my hometown, in my city. His restaurant, from what I've heard, is seen the reviews and heard from other people, has been tremendous. It has been amazing and all that type of stuff. I really wish I was able to get out there, but the COVID season kind of had us all in a certain place. So it's all good though. But I'm still looking to try your food though.
I'll come over and cook for you when COVID is all done.
Awesome. I'm sure my wife would love that.
Perfect.
So the way I like to start off all of my shows is by asking my guest professor, what is your Genesis moment? And for those of you who are brand new to the School of Hard Knocks, let me explain to you what the Genesis moment is. The Genesis moment is when you come to a fork in your road. You can go right, you can go left. Don't have to be good, don't have to be bad. But it's what you can see your life being like beyond those first steps. So, for example, the Genesis moment for me was started this show. That's the Genesis moment. Me getting married. That's another Genesis moment. And another Genesis moment is me trying out for the CFL 4 years. Yes, 4 years removed from high school, never played it down in college, and still trying out for the CFL. So that is what a Genesis moment is. So with that being said, guest Professor Phil, what is your Genesis moment?
Well, I have one main Genesis moment, but there's about 3 or 4 total. The first Genesis moment, and the biggest one for me, was when I was on a mission trip down in Haiti back in 2017. And that occurred on April 5th of 2017 when I met a little 15-day-old Haitian baby down in Haiti. And I did not have a relationship with Jesus Christ at that point in time. I went down there to do mission work. And when I was down on that trip, I discovered what a relationship with Jesus Christ was, and I gave my life to Jesus Christ. The day before that happened, I had the opportunity to meet this 15-day-old Haitian baby. And on that same trip, I became a godparent with my wife for this 15-day-old Haitian baby. At the moment, I did not realize that was my Genesis moment. But on this journey we're going to get into a little bit later, I realized, looking back and reflecting on my life, that was a defining moment of my life that that is the time when God entered into my life and he brought a little 15-day-old Haitian baby into my life that would change the trajectory of my life into a point to allow me to discover my true purpose in life and lead me up to the point of where I am now. So I would say that's my biggest Genesis moment and my defining Genesis moment there. And the next day on April 6th of 2017, that morning, this is all part of the same Genesis moment, was the day I gave my life to Christ at 7:02 a.m. So that is my number one most important thing that's ever happened in my life, my Genesis moment. The second Genesis moment for me was fast forwarding a little bit of a year later, December of 2018. Two men came into my restaurant during the holiday time in December, and I saw a ring on one of their fingers. And the ring, it looked like a championship ring. And I engaged in a conversation with the person who had the ring on. I said, man, that's a beautiful looking ring. Is that a championship ring? What kind of ring is that? He goes, no, this is a spiritual ring, which that engaged in a conversation that would unlock another chapter in my life, in my journey with Jesus Christ, that would bring me to Bomb Squad. The ring that I saw that day was, it was a covenant ring that you achieve from doing 36 weeks of Bomb Squad. And that interaction there led to me having a conversation, a very intimate moment with Jesus Christ a week later, really challenging me of have I given him everything in my life? At the time I thought I had. And I had another idol in my life that I hadn't given up, and that was my drinking. And he asked me to give my drinking over to him, and I did. And it just unlocked a whole nother chapter of my life, which led to the next week being invited to Bomb Squad. And a few weeks later, in January of 2019, I walked into Bomb Squad for the very first time. I remembered it was a cold, snowy January morning, about 5:45 in the morning on a Saturday when everyone else is normally asleep. I walk into this room that I'm going to start getting emotional here on some things, but I'm just going to keep it real and I'm going to keep it raw. When I walked into that Bomb Squad, man, that changed my life forever. And the next Genesis moment was on another mission trip that I went to. A little backstory for me. I came to Detroit back in 2013. I moved here from Chicago to Detroit to be the managing partner at the Capitol Grill. And I was running from a divorce at that point in time, and I came here with nothing. I came here with zero. I came here with my car and some clothes, a couple pieces of furniture, and that was really it. And I vowed at that point I was never going to get married again. I met an amazing woman in my life. And I made it clear to her at the beginning, listen, I'm not looking to get married. I'll be with you for as long as you want to be with me, but I just want to let you know up front, I'm not looking to get married. And she was good with that, and we were in a good spot. So fast forward, I go on a mission trip over to Nepal on the other side of the world. I go over there with my church to engage in the fight for human trafficking. And it was late night one night. And I remember I couldn't sleep. I went outside and just started looking at all the beauty that God had on display for me in Nepal. And I just asked him, I said, God, I just need you to tell me why you brought me to Nepal. And I remember perfectly. He said, I want to expose you to what human trafficking is. And how bad human trafficking is, and all of the evilness that human trafficking is, and it resides in your own backyard back in Michigan, but I needed to bring you over here to see it firsthand on the front lines. He goes, but most importantly, I brought you over here to Nepal to tell you that by yourself, you can only do good things.
Are you tired of spending hours trying to create a sales funnel that actually converts the sales? Well, say goodbye to the headaches and hello to Drop Funnels. Their platform makes it easy to create professional, high converted sales funnels with just a few clicks. And the best part, it's so intuitive, even a 3-year-old could use it. Not that we recommend you getting a 3-year-old to run your business. So why wait? Give Drop Funnels a try and watch your sales soar to new heights. Check it out at our resources page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
You need someone else in your life to do great things. You can't do great things by yourself. And I've already placed that person in your life. She's at home waiting for you. It's time to go home and get married. And that was a Genesis moment for me. And I got home, and a handful of months later, I figured out the time to propose, and I kept wanting to do it on my time, and God kept telling me, no, the time's not right. The time's not right. And he revealed the most perfect time to do it. My parents came up to visit us on the same weekend that we were getting baptized. My wife and I got baptized together in the Paint Creek, which is a creek and a stream up here in just north of Detroit. And the timing was immediate, that right after we got baptized, we got out of the water, I then proposed, and that was another defining Genesis moment for me. So those are really the main Genesis moments for me. I'm in the process of another Genesis moment being defined right now. So that's my Genesis moments.
Man, I wasn't expecting it to be, no, I'm lying to myself. I did expect it to be pretty emotional, and I started to get a tad bit choked up. And then I had this thought like, man, you got guest Professor Phil on the show. He's going to make you cry. He's going to cry. This is going to be a real Oprah moment. That's not exactly what I was going for, but it has to take, you have to be a person that's strong and very transparent to display your emotions the way that you did, man. And let me also say to the class that let me explain to you what Bomb Squad is. Bomb Squad is essentially just a men's group. And like guest Professor Phil said, it's 35 weeks, 36 weeks, where you're getting up at 5 in the morning and you got to be there about 6:30, something like that. And the way the Pastor Stacy is the head of Bomb Squad, he always phrases it like this, that while you still have the Army and the Navy and everything like that, us getting up at 5 in the morning to be there at 6:30 is the equivalent of the special operations team. So like the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, and so forth. And it's just a group of brothers that's really learning from each other. We're going through, it's just a place where it forces you to be transparent, right? And to lean on one another. And that's where I met this good brother, guest Professor Phil Munroe at Bomb Squad. And another tidbit, when I had an idea to start this show, I actually told everybody at Bomb Squad. And Phil was one of those guys that said, yeah, go ahead. And of course, at Bomb Squad, everybody called me Twin. But Phil was like, yeah, go ahead, Twin. And I remember afterwards, Phil kept on checking on me like, hey, so what's up with the show? How's the show going and everything like that? So Phil was literally inside of my Genesis moment of starting the Genesis Project podcast, pun intended, right? And for that, Phil, I greatly appreciate you, brother, for rooting me on and making sure that I stayed with it. I was going to stay with it one way or another, but I knew if I fell off that you was going to get on me about that. So I appreciate you for that.
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. My accountant used to get on me all the time about how disorganized my books was. And so that's when I found this company, which just so happened to be our new sponsor, FreshBooks. FreshBooks makes it easy to know exactly how your business is performing. With their straightforward dashboard and reports, your success will never ever be a mystery. Plus, they're detailed enough that your accountant will love you. And besides, who don't want to love you? I love you. Don't you want your accountant to love you? So if you want your accountant to love you, make sure you check out genesisprojectpodcast.com/freshbooks to get your free trial today. And I will see you guys in the hallways.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I don't know if you remember, we were sitting in Bomb Squad one morning, and I know Chancellor Gleaton as Twin. That's just how I know him. So I'm gonna get a little more impersonal here, and I'm just gonna get down and deep. Twin. That's what Is it okay if I call you Twin?
I'm good with that.
Okay. But I remember we were in a Bomb Squad morning, and Twin stood up because Pastor Stacy would always say, "What's God been doing in your life?" And I remember Twin getting up and saying, "Man, this has been on my heart. This is what I'm looking to do." And he was telling us about doing this podcast. And I remember the morning he got up and he said, "I'm recording my podcast today." And it just that set in my heart. And I remember later on that afternoon, my wife and I went down to Detroit just to have a night stay over at a hotel downtown. And we went and walked around by the riverfront there. And we were walking back to our hotel, and there was a recording studio in the hotel. Remember this?
I do.
And I look in the recording studio, and I see these guys in there doing this recording. I look at them like, man, like my wife's name is Marianne. I call her Mare. And I was like, man, that looks like a buddy of mine from Bomb Squad. She goes, that's not him. I was like, that is him. So I remember we went to the restaurant to go eat, and I slipped a note to the concierge at the hotel. I said, hey, can you just give this to the guys in the recording studio? And I knew by giving you that note, if that was you were going to come see me, and you did. And that was where it launched. That's where the conversation started with you and I. And you said, I remember when I was sitting down there, and you said, man, Phil, I'm going to have you on my show.
Yep. It's funny you brought that up. I didn't forget about that, because I was actually going to hit on that, and you just beat me to the punch. But it's funny how our Genesis moments is very closely related to one another. You know what I mean? It's tied, and that was one of the things at that moment. That was one of the reasons why I had to get you on the show. It was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of when I could get you on the show. But just to have you, right there in the very beginning of it, all the way up to now, it's full circle, man. And I didn't even say where I was going to record this at. It was just mere coincidence that you popped up there and I was there. It was like, wow, this is really something, man. This is really meant to be. You know what I mean? So with that, as you hear my grandbaby in the background there, I want you to talk about.
He's in full agreement, by the way.
Oh yeah, totally. I want you to talk about how you got in the restaurant game.
Wow, man, you're asking me to go way back there, man. You're asking me to dig deep in the memory archives. But so I was growing up. I was the youngest of 4 kids. My dad was a doctor. He was a cardiologist. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and raised all of us. And when we got to I had 3 older sisters. When they all got out of high school and started moving on, and I was just going to get into high school, my mom was looking to do something, and she wanted to get in and do something, and so they decided to open up a deli bakery in our local mall. If I knew then what I know now, I would have told them, don't even think about doing that, because the restaurant business is probably one of the hardest lines of business to be in. But I worked, with them through at the family business through high school, and that really got me into just the love of customer service, the love of just being there for others, the love of just serving others, and that's really near and dear to my heart. It's one of my passions. And the farther I got into the restaurant business, and I started making it my profession, and I started making it my career, it has brought me an amazing life that I wouldn't change for anything. But yeah, I gotta give no one else in my business, in my family had restaurant background. So I don't know where it stems from. I don't know where it comes from, but I know the entrepreneurial mindset and spirit of my mom. And that was a defining moment for me that kickstarted my career.
Man, I do recall you telling me this before the show and everything. What it is, I know when I first brought up the idea of the Genesis Project podcast, you was like, well, twin, what? I'm not an entrepreneur. How can I, what can I share? And I was like, no, Phil, you got it in you. It's somewhere in you. And you mentioning that where the entrepreneurship of the restaurant business came in there and you getting it from your mother. I knew it was in there, Phil. I knew it was in there. I just had to pull it out of you.
Absolutely.
So with you being in the restaurant game, I mean, and Capitol Grill being one of the best restaurants in Michigan, right? Metro Detroit, Michigan, and maybe even the country, right? I talk a lot about processes and systems, and maybe I don't talk about it enough, but I want you to kind of explain how important is the systems and processes in the restaurant business.
Well, I mean, what people don't realize about the restaurant business is the profit margins are very small. People see these busy restaurants out there and they say, oh, they must be making a lot of money. But if you don't know how to run a restaurant effectively, all that a busy restaurant does is make you go out of business quicker. And because if you're not controlling your labor, if you're not controlling your cost of goods, which are the two biggest cost controls in the restaurant business, it can take up to 50% of your revenue coming in. If you don't control those two things, like you have no fighting chance. So systems in the restaurant business is huge. And I'm a person that I'm a systems guy, right? Like I'm not a creative guy. Like that's not what my forte is. I don't create restaurants. I'm not that creative mind. But you give me a system and I'll flourish and I'll excel at it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And so the Capitol Grill, it's part of a Fortune 500 company with Darden Restaurants. So the last 10 years I was working for a Fortune 500 company. Darden Restaurants operates over 2,000 different restaurants across the country and worldwide. The Capitol Grill, there's 58 Capitol Grills throughout the country and one down in Mexico. You don't get to be that size without solid systems. So I fit perfectly with inside that model.
That's awesome, because I talk a lot about it, because it wasn't until I started this podcast that I realized how important processes and systems were. And mind you, I came from a athletic background, football, and then an IT background where it's nothing but systems and processes. But I didn't really dig into the systems and processes until I started the podcast. Because with this podcast, I had to put systems together. I remember like my first few episodes, it took me maybe 2 hours just to edit one episode. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until my wife came to me and was like, hey, you spending a lot of time with this. What about our time, right? And from that, I had to build the systems and the processes. So now, instead of editing an episode taking 2 hours, 3 hours, it takes me about 30 minutes, 45 minutes at the most. You know what I mean? And with that, I wanted to try to express that to people, that by you putting together processes and systems, that it makes everything so much easier for your business. And maybe in my mind, I don't think enough people hear that. Oh, you got something to say too, boy? In my mind, I don't think people hear enough about that, about the automation behind it, and actually having systems, whereas all it takes from you is just a push of the button and everything gets to moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and on that, you make a great point on that so many people that go out to eat and they walk into a restaurant, they get to see the 2 hours at the peak time of what's going on. And they get to see the general manager or the chef or the managers out there talking to all the guests and just having a great time and throwing this great party. But what they don't see are the 10 hours that led up to that party that go on. So for me, the systems within any business, that's the heartbeat of the business. Without the systems, the business dies.
That's a solid point. That's a real solid point.
You can't just wake up every day and just go into the business you're trying to create and say, I'm just going to do whatever I want today.
Yeah.
It might be fun for a few months, until you realize you have no money coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start scrambling to try to figure out how to get money coming in. And then you realize you don't have any, any income flow coming in because you don't have any systems set up to go out and get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to pivot real quick, I want you to talk about the failure, right? Because I just from your bio and your Genesis moment, you've experienced some form of failure. So I want you to talk about how you dealt with that.
Oh, sure. I've had a lot of failure in my life.
Are you tired of being bogged down by HR tasks? Well, it was Gusto to the rescue. Their HR software is like a superhero for small business owners. It helps you manage payroll, benefits, and HR compliance with ease. Plus, it's so simple to use, even a penguin can figure it out. Not that penguins are known for their business savvy, but they are pretty smart birds. So why wait? Give Gusto a try and watch your HR tasks melt away like ice cream on a hot summer day. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
When I was in the restaurant business, when I was in Chicago, I remember I got fired from one of my projects that I was on. I was developing a concept with an amazing group of individuals in Chicago, and looking back, there were a lot of things that were leading up to that point in time. But I was young and dumb then, but I was just young and not as full of as much knowledge as I have now. But I thought it was all about me. And as I was going through this journey on developing this restaurant concept, I made it about me and not about others, and not about the restaurant and the business. And I remember my vice president sat down with me, and he told me flat out, he said, "Listen, Phil, if you keep going down on this path and you keep making it about you, you're not going to be on this project anymore." And I was arrogant. I didn't think that was going to pertain to me. And sure enough, I remember, January, I think it was 2016, or no, 2006, I think it was. Yeah, I can't remember the year, but anyways, I remember where I was sitting. He called a meeting with me, and I thought we were going to be talking about the next thing on the project. And January 2010 is when it was. And I remember we sat down for this meeting. He said, "Listen, I told you what the end result was going to be if you didn't make the change, and you didn't make the change. So this is the time our relationship is done." And I got fired from a job I loved, and it really made me kind of think. And I had to, when you have those moments happen in your life, you can do one of two things. You can either deny what's happening and saying that person is wrong, or you can take a look at it at face value and say, "Man, like this is real. Like this is real life stuff here. I now don't have a job. I need to go back home to my family and tell them, hey, I lost my job. And I lost my job because of me, not because of someone else." So, I still wasn't at the point where I could say, hey, it was my fault. I still blame the company that they did all these other things that led to my being fired. And it took some hard lessons. Talk about school of hard knocks. When you get knocked off your high horse there, and you're up pretty high, man, that hurts when you hit the ground.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I named this the School of Hard Knocks. Because again, just like you, I had a very untraditional path of getting to where I am today. You know what I mean? And even with the failure piece, I also feel that a lot of people do not want to fail, right? And rightfully so. But they allow that to handcuff them to whatever situation is going on, right?
Yeah.
They don't allow that fear. They don't control the fear enough for them to go after what it is that they want in life. You know what I mean? They may be missing their destiny just by allowing fear to keep them in their seat instead of chasing it with violent action. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to let the fear define me. And every moment when I would get into a situation that I was uncomfortable with, and that fear would creep in, and it would paralyze me, and it would really challenge me. And I just kept hearing that little voice on my shoulder saying, "Man, you're not good enough to do this. You can't do this. You can't do that." And my world is full of, you can't.
You spoke on something right there. It reminded me of a post I made earlier this year about the imposter syndrome, right? And with me trying to putting together this podcast, right? And seeing some traction from it, I started experiencing some imposter syndrome, whereas I was questioning whether or not this is going to be good enough. You know what I mean? It's something that was supposed to take maybe 5 minutes. I'm making it 2-3 hours because it's not perfect enough. No, it's not good enough. Yeah, at some point I just had to be like, you know what? All right, screw this. This is good enough for right now. Let's get this out there and let's move on to the next thing, right? And that brings me into what I used to deal with in playing sports, right? Before the game, pre-game jitters, right? It's that moment where you either gonna choke or that moment where you're gonna stand up and shine. You know what I mean? And life is scary. It's scary. But at some point in time, you still gotta keep moving, right? And with that being said, that leads me into my next question, which is pretty much the main reason why I got you on the show, which is, what is Miriam's miracle? I want you to talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I talked about Miriam early on when I was talking about my Genesis moment. And so Miriam is a little 15-day-old Haitian baby that I met on April 5th of 2016 or 2017. And when she came into my life, when I was down in Haiti, that was when I heard the very first testimony I ever heard of someone who had given their life to Christ. And now when I talk about a relationship with Jesus Christ, there's two different worlds that I talk about and that we talk about as Christ followers. There's of this world, which is everything that we live in, and there's of God's world. And that's all the supernatural and heaven and everything else that goes on with things. I knew that. So when I went down to Haiti, I went down with my wife. We didn't go down with the church. We went down by ourselves, just the two of us. And we went down there, which I thought we were going down to help rebuild Haiti after Hurricane Matthew had gone through Haiti as, I think, a Category 5 hurricane in October of 2016. So I went down there what I thought was on a mission trip to rebuild houses. What wound up happening was I went down there on a mission trip for God to rebuild me and restructure my life. And what I needed of this world to get my attention, for God to get my attention, was to hear the testimony. When I look back on where I am today and what happened to me down in Haiti, I realize now that baby Miriam coming into my life was of God's world. And baby Miriam was what needed to come into my life to rip my heart wide open, to allow Jesus Christ to enter it and turn my heart from a heart of stone, which was all about me, of what I referred to earlier, of getting fired from my job and a lot of other things that I went through in my life. That was all because my heart was of stone. Baby Miriam ripped open my heart and allowed my heart to start the transformation process of becoming a heart of flesh. And Miriam's miracle is what happened to me of meeting that 15-day-old Haitian baby, which set my life on a trajectory to almost 4 years later brings me up to where I am now, to stepping out of my comfort zone, of my everyday, my comfortable job at the Capitol Grill, making a great salary, having great people around me, the best of the industry. And at 48, walking away from that at the top of my game. Baby Miriam set me on that trajectory to realize that there's more to life than money, and there's more to life than titles. And baby Miriam revealed what my true purpose in life is, And that was revealed to me through my relationship with Jesus Christ, that baby Miriam brought to me. And that's my Miriam moment. That's what Miriam's miracle is. And very much like you talk about your Genesis moments, I word things as what's your Miriam moment. Miriam's miracle is about unlocking and unleashing the Miriam moments inside of each and every one of us that we're scared to let come out. We all have hopes. We all have dreams. We all have things we want to do, but we have a tendency to get in our own way and not ask ourselves the hard questions to be able to unlock those. And that's what is behind Miriam's miracle.
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. If you're a coach or an expert or soon to be coach and or expert, the Chancellor is granting you a chance to get a free client getting authority website. You heard me correctly, free. Get a professional design where there's no code, no tech, it's easy to update, and it's crafted to convert. You'll probably wonder what's the catch, right? Well, there is none. Our sponsor, Drop Funnels, want to make sure that you get off to an amazing start by creating and giving you a free website. Do you want a free website? Sure you do. Go to genesisprojectpodcast.com/free funnel, and I will see you guys in the hallways.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I didn't quite know exactly where I was going with the whole fear thing, but I'm realizing now that, maybe it was destined for us to talk about fear for a brief moment, because it seems like that does have a direct correlation into Miriam's miracle, So first of all, I just want to know, how did you start going on missions by yourself? Because there might be people in the classroom here who might have thought about doing that, right? So how do you start doing missions in other countries and all that type of good stuff?
Well, I think first and foremost, when you talk about missions and mission trips, I just want to make it clear to everybody, mission trips don't have to be going down to Haiti. Mission trips don't have to be going to Nepal. They don't have to be going to some exotic country to help other countries to make themselves better and help get them stronger with a relationship to Jesus Christ, or rebuild homes for the needy, for whatever your reason is going on a mission trip. You don't have to do that. You can do mission trips right in your own backyard. You can go and you can get engaged with Habitat for Humanity and help clean up a neighborhood, or help rebuild a house that needs help. There's plenty of opportunities to do mission work. And it doesn't just reside, going down to some other place to do it. I have a passion for helping others and serving others. And so mission trips just fit naturally with me. And I think that process of mission trips started with me when I was in high school. And one thing people need to know about me growing up is I grew up Methodist. My mom and dad were very involved in the church. My mom was in the choir. My dad was definitely a godly man. But one thing that never really clicked with me with the Methodist church was there's just a really structure. It was just very formal and kind of for grandiose for me. And that's just not how I connect with Jesus Christ. But some people do, and it fits for them, and it just didn't fit for me. But I know that I needed to spend my time in my church growing up and going to Sunday school and spending time with my youth pastor, Reverend Ed Hoke, who I'm going to get emotional again here, but man, he had such an impact on my life. He took me on mission trips with my father and friends and people. We did mission trips here in the United States. We went down to the Appalachian Mountains in eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, western North Carolina, in the Smoky Mountain foothills there in the mountains. And we went down there and we went down there to be with people. Those were more on building missions, and we went down and put additions on, or we gave someone working plumbing so they could have a bathroom inside their house. The things we take for granted. People, we get to go to the bathroom inside in the comfort and flush the toilet and it works. There's places inside our own country that they can't do that. They still have to. Here it is 2021, and they still have to go to an outhouse. those places still exist in our own backyard. But sometimes we just put the blinders on and we just choose not to see it. Mission trips help you take those blinders off to do that. And if there's anybody out there that is thinking about doing a mission trip, I'm going to throw a challenge out there to the class. I challenge you to go do a mission trip. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what it's for. Go out and do a mission trip. And if it does not change your life, come talk to me.
Are you tired of dealing with messy spreadsheets and disorganized customer data? Well, say goodbye to the chaos and hello to ConvertKit CRM. Their platform is like a trusty sidekick for your business, helping you manage your customer relationships with ease. Plus, it's so user-friendly, even a clown can use it. No offense to the clowns out there. So, why wait? Try ConvertKit CRM today and watch your customer management skills go from the circus to top notch. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
You know, that seems like a call to action there.
It is.
That is a call to action. A call to action. Man, so I really want to drill down a little bit deeper into Miriam's miracle and how can people get involved with that? And while you tell us that, I'm going to change this baby's diaper.
Perfect. Well, so Miriam's miracle to me was, you know, before Miriam's miracle came into existence, we need to go back into Bomb Squad about 2 years ago. When I first got into Bomb Squad, which is, it was right about 2 years ago. In my platoon, I was new in my journey with Jesus Christ, and I was new in my walk, and I was young. And one of the things when people first develop their relationship with Jesus Christ, you get this fire in your belly, you get this fire in your soul and your heart that you just want to go out and you want to save the world, and you just want to go out and do all these things. And as a young Christian, that can be a really, it can be kind of a dangerous thing to do, because you're not ready to go out and do that yet. Some people are, but most people aren't. And so, but I had that fire in my belly to go do that. And I really felt like I was being called to step out of my comfort zone of working at the restaurant. So I remember I was sitting in a Bomb Squad session, and we were just talking. I forget what the conversation was, but I brought it up that, hey, I was thinking about doing this and leaving my job and going out and just letting God decide what I wanted to do. And one of our platoon leaders, Pastor Hood, Pastor Earl Butch Hood, he's an amazing, man of God, definitely one of my spiritual mentors, has guided me in a lot of the process. I remember he pulled me aside after that Bomb Squad session. It was just him and I. We were sitting on the side of the stage, and he said, Phil, he goes, I want you to think about something. He goes, I don't think you're ready to step out of this job yet. God's not done with you on this chapter of your life. He goes, what I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on making your work your ministry. He goes, you need to work on being able to find people that need Jesus Christ through your work. It might be through interactions with guests, it might be through employees, it could be anywhere, but you just need to be able to figure out how can you bring people to Jesus Christ while working within a Fortune 500 company without talking about scripture, without talking about the Bible, without talking about Jesus Christ, without talking about God. And that was really what Pastor Hood, really challenged me on to sit back and do. And it took me 2 years to figure out that I don't need to be out there evangelizing and preaching the word of God each and every day by going out there and saying it. My actions can display that. And that was a great lesson that my father taught me. My father told me that we need to always be spreading the good word of Jesus Christ. And sometimes we might even need to use words. So those 2 years there really set me up to where we are today. And my life was going really good, but a couple years later down the road, or about a year and a half later, I started getting that burn in my belly again that, hey, it's time for me to start looking at stepping out. And then boom, COVID hit, the pandemic hit. and nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew where we were going. We still don't know necessarily where we're going, but that was a defining moment for me. And in the restaurant business, we were still open. We were fighting, we're scrambling. We were just doing everything we could to get any amount of business in. I was fighting to keep my team employed. I was fighting just to provide for their families at a time when they couldn't do anything for themselves. But it also really allowed me to take a really deep reflection at myself of what my purpose is in life. And I remember going into work one morning. This was right in the middle of March, right when everything started shutting down. Churches hadn't all shut down yet, but they were in the process of shutting down. And I remember having this crystal clear conversation with God. And he said, Phil, this is your time. He said, this is your time that you've been being trained for. He said, this storm is going to get fierce. This storm is going to get real. It's going to get ugly, and it's going to get bad. Things are going to shut down. People are going to be isolated. People are going to be, shut down all around the world. And he said, but I need you to shift your mindset from chasing down the one, which is one of the things that we're called to do as Christians, is a great chapter in Luke, the book of Luke in the Bible. It says that if there's a flock of sheep of 100, and one of those sheep leaves the flock, a good shepherd is going to leave the 99 to go chase down the one lost sheep. And when that lost sheep is found, that good shepherd is going to put that sheep on their shoulders and bring it back to the 99. And all of the heavens are going to rejoice because the lost sheep has been found. And that's really been my mindset of what I've been called out to do, is finding the lost one. But in this conversation I had with God, he said, it's not about the one right now. It's about the 99. And you need to help protect the 99. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. But it slowly developed. And I called a good friend of mine who I work with on another men's group here, Dave Halsey. And I had a conversation with him and said, hey, Dave, this is what is going on. This is what I'm being called to do. Will you help me? He goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, what are you thinking about? I'm just like, it involves some sort of devotion. I'm not sure, maybe phone calls, or we can't meet in person, but we'll figure it out. And he goes, great, I'm in. He goes, are you thinking about doing, a couple devotions a week? I said, no, I'm thinking about doing them 2 times a day. And he was like, what? 2 times a day? I'm like, yeah, I really feel that we need to provide a devotion at 7:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night. And that launched a trajectory for me to realize that I had a gift of discipleship, and I had a gift of being able to connect people. I had a gift of being able to bring together for a like cause and just help people discover the beauty of Jesus Christ. And we did 2 devotions a day, each at 7:30 and 8:30 at night. Each one was about an hour long. And we did that for about 3.5 or 4 months. And just seeing the growth of people through, and the growth of myself. When we started on this journey with these devotions, I thought, I am not built for this. I'm not designed for this. I'm not trained for this. And then it hit me, and when all the stories in the Bible, everything in the Bible is written about people who wound up doing extraordinary things that weren't designed to do it. And I realized that, like, this is of God, that he's calling me to do this, and he's really taking control of my life, and he is setting my life on a trajectory that is going to to change my life. And that's what brings us up to this point now. So in October, I remember I had a conversation with my boss and told him, I said, listen, this is what I'm looking to do, and I don't know what I'm doing next. I said, but what I do know is I need to get out of my comfort zone, and I need to step away from my job at the Capitol Grill and my amazing job with Darden. And I had no job lined up. I had nothing lined up. But the vision of me I kept having with Jesus Christ was, we were sitting on a boat in the middle of the water, And the next frame, I was looking at Jesus Christ standing out of the boat, standing on the water. And one of my favorite, stories in the Bible is in the book of Matthew, of when there's a raging storm going on. Jesus sent his disciples to go to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, and he was going to meet them over there. And as they were embarking over the sea, a raging storm came up. And keep in mind, these were all fishermen. So they understood, the waters and the sea, and usually storms wouldn't bother them. But this storm is so violent that all of these fishermen thought their boat was going to capsize and they were going to drown. And out on the water, they saw, Peter saw Jesus Christ walking on the water. And Peter asked Jesus to call him out of the boat and to join him and to call him out to step on the water. And he did. And he kept his eyes fixated on Jesus, and he was able to walk on that water. But only when he took his eyes off Jesus is when he dropped and sank in the water. And Jesus said, why do you fear? Like, why are you afraid? Just keep your eyes on me and I'll protect you. And so I kept having this vision in September, August, September, in that area of Jesus out there on the water. And he brought me to a point and said, Phil, I brought you to this point. You're in the boat. The only thing between you and Jesus is the water. He said, this is your moment. He said, you have a decision to make. You can either stay in the boat and rest in your comfort, which is okay. I'm not saying that you need to step out of the boat, but your comfort is your salary. It's your job. It's your current life. It's all the comforts that come with all the money and the titles and things like that. You can stay with that. Or you can join me out on the water and you can take the first step. And I got to tell you that if you join me out here on the water, if you take that step, if you get up out of the boat and you take a step on that water, you will not sink because I am with you. And I can tell you that what I have in store for you is more glorious than I can even describe. But I am not going to show you what that is until you make the decision to come out here and join me. And early on in my faith walk, a Bible verse was given to me, Isaiah 41:10, which reads, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand. And at that moment, I knew what I needed to do. Breaking down Isaiah 41:10, it told me, he said it clearly, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not fear, for he makes it very personal, but he goes, do not fear, for I am your God. He is my God. Yes, he's everybody's God, but he made it very clear in that verse that he is my God. And he also makes it very clear in that verse to me is, I will strengthen you. He goes, I have given you all the tools you need. I have been discipling you. I've been building you. I've been, working on you and through you for the last 2.5, 3 years. For this moment, I gave you the strength. He goes, I will help you do this, but I am not going to help you get out of the boat. You need to make the decision to get out of the boat and come walk towards me. And no matter what, but then he follows it up with, no matter what decision you make, I will always hold on to you with my righteous right hand. And man, that was a powerful defining moment for me. And I remember I got home from work and I told my wife, I said, because this process has been going on for about 1.5 years at this point. And I told her, I said, Mary, like, this is the time. I was like, I need to end the relationship with the Capital Grille, and it's time for me to step out of the boat. I'm ready. This is it. And if I don't do it now, I won't do it. And in that process, it was as clear as that snap of the finger that I realized at that point that my success in my life is no longer defined by money, and it's no longer defined by titles. And that's what brings me to the birth of Miriam's Miracle.
Are you tired of drowning in a sea of receipts and invoices? Well, it's QuickBooks to the rescue. Their accounting software is like a life raft for small business owners. It helps you stay organized, track your finances, and helps you make smart business decisions. Plus, it's so easy to use, even a sloth can learn it. Not that we're calling you slow, but sloths are notoriously chill. So why wait? Give QuickBooks a try and start selling smoothly through the world of business. Check it out at our resource page at genesisprojectpodcast.com/resources.
Mm, mm. You know, I've said this a few times in previous recordings that sometimes I can come up with the name of the class before the recording. Sometimes I come up with the name of the class during the recording. And then there's sometimes where I come up with the name of the class after the recording. And this is one of those times I think I know what I'm going to call it, what I'm going to call this class. I think I'm going to call this class just the jump of faith, because while you was telling us that story, it had me thinking about, and I spoke on this a little earlier about my own Genesis moment, about trying out for the CFL 4 years removed from high school, right? And I know you had to deal with that fear, right? Of you not necessarily wanting to leave, but feeling like you need to leave, and you just don't know what you should do about it, right?
Yeah.
And that leap of faith it took for you to say, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? And like you said, this was your moment of you getting out of the boat and walking on water, right? And that moment for me was when I tried out for the CFL. Three weeks before trying out for the CFL, I was working at a barbecue joint in the city, in Detroit, and I already made the plans to go, right? So I'm at work one night. We're closing up, taking the trash out. Two guys came and walked up to me because I was the only one outside with the trash. Walked up to me, pulled out their guns, walked me into the and just to keep it kind of brief, they took me inside the place, and with every intentions on robbing the place. They ended up not robbing the place. They had me on my face. My manager booked it for the front door, and in my mind, thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to do that too." But as soon as I had the opportunity to run for the front door, the guy behind him had his gun on me, so that was a definite no, right? And so with me having my face down to the ground, the guy put the gun to my head and said, shoot to kill, telling his partner running after my manager. And I'm thinking like, well, this is it. I guess I had a pretty good ride up until now, so be it, right? And so the guy ran back. The guy who had the gun on me hit me upside my head with an attempt to knock me out. And they both ran out, didn't take anything. At that point, I was thinking like, I don't know if I'm going to go to Texas because tryouts was in Texas. I don't know if I'm going to go to Texas now. The next week, my cousin passed away. Now I'm really thinking like, yeah, I really don't know now. The week of me leaving to go to tryouts, I get robbed again at a family dollar store, right? And at this point, I'm like, you know what? These three things just happened to me. Either I can stay here and see what's going to happen next. If I stay here, it might mean that I may not make it out of this week. Or I just go throw caution to the wind and just go and just see what's going to happen, right? Because at that point in my life, I was not happy with where I was at. My friends and family was telling me that this barbecue joint job was a great job, and it really wasn't. It was paying me peanuts. I knew that I had this deep yearning feeling that I'm supposed to be doing something else. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger and better than this. This can't be what life is right now, right? And after that, after I got robbed that second time, I said, you know what? It's going to happen. I'm going. And we were at the family hour to view the body of my cousin. And I showed up with my luggage, my suitcase and everything. My family begged and pleaded for me to not go. They wanted me to stay. And I said, no, I'm going to go. And they said, no, please stay. We're not going to let you leave. So I lied to them. I said, okay, I'll stay. So I caught everybody in the middle of prayer and I walked right out, and I feel kind of bad for saying that, but I walked right out of the family hour, hopped in a car and flew down to Texas and tried out. If it had not been for me jumping out of the boat at that time and attempting to walk on water, there's no telling where I would be right now. You know what I mean? I'm saying that to say that, for those people that's in this classroom right now, that's dealing with that tug that you're supposed to be over here, but you're really on the other side here, but you want to be on this side. Jump out the boat, go for it. Because one of my favorite phrases is, "What's the worst that can happen? Your life changed for the better." Don't we all want that, right?
Or you learn.
Or do you want to stay here and just deal with the agony, the pain of the what ifs, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You know what I mean?
What's up, class? This is the Chancellor. Listen, I think it's time for you to take your hustle and make it into a business. Only way you'll be able to do that is by creating a website. Now, I think you should holler at Weebly, okay? Weebly helps you create your professional website. They give you customizable website designs and useful e-commerce tools to help you grow your business. You get a free custom domain for 1 year. You stand out with eye-catching website designs, and you get to grow your business with powerful tools. Give your business the credibility that you need. That's how you stand out between business and a hustle anyway, right? Make it easy for your customers to find you and build your brand with a professional website. Build your website today with Weebly by going to genesisprojectpodcast.com/Weebly. And I will see you guys in the hallways.
Yeah, well, it's when you talk about faith, that's faith is my center. I'm a strong man of faith, and through these devotions groups that I led, I was really challenging a lot of people on their faith. How strong is their faith? Because we were at a time when we didn't know what was going to happen, and the only thing that I could rely on was my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I am for 4 months encouraging everybody to have a strong faith. And then here I am in September, and Jesus is calling me out of this boat and telling me to just trust my faith in him. And I will never forget the question. It was a very direct question that he gave me. It's a 2-part. He said, you always need to know the why. So if you need to know the why, do you have faith? And here's the kicker. And he says, if you really have as strong of a faith as you say so, you don't need to know the why. Just trust me. Is there anything that I've ever done to you? And this is Jesus telling me, saying, is there anything I've ever done for you that I haven't made happen for you? And that was my defining moment. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
Through on every single thing. And so that's where Miriam's Miracle is birthed from. I'm my new journey I'm moving on is a faith and purpose coach. There's a lot of coaches out there. There's life coaches, there's business coaches, there's venture coaches, there's professional sports coaches, there's coaches all over the place. But what my goal is with Miriam's Miracle is to be able to help people make their life their ministry. So many people say, "Oh, I want to make my work my ministry," which is what started with me. That was my pivot, where my shift was. I had to learn how to make my work my ministry before I could make my life my ministry.
Right.
But people want to make their work their ministry, or their ministry is their church, or it's going to midweek, whatever it is. People say, this is what I want to do for a ministry. It's like, how about you stop doing what you feel you should do for your ministry and just make your life your ministry? And how do we do that? It's inside of all of us. We all know how to make our own life our ministry, but do we have the faith to be able to do that? Do we have the faith to be able to make the pivot? Do we have the faith to be able to make our work stronger? Do we have the faith to be able to make me as a person stronger? And that's where a faith and purpose coach comes in. I'm willing to ask you the questions you're not willing to ask yourself, for you to be able to realize the answers that are locked inside of you, to be able to discover your own Miriam moment that can change your life.
I think we could no longer call you guest professor. I think we need to be calling you coach. Coach Phil now,
Well, it's it's an exciting time for me. And when I started, so when I left January 10th, I was trying to figure out the name of my company. I was trying to figure all these things out. And I was trying to just make it too complicated. And I remember I was at the gym. I go to the gym on a regular basis, and that's just where I connect a lot with God. And I just get my moments with me and my time with me that I can just reflect. And I think it's important that everybody has those times. Some people it's running, some people it's doing whatever. You might be doing woodworking in your garage. It could be anything, anything, whatever it is that allows you to connect. But mine is at the gym. And Miriam's Miracle finally hit me. And so the name came pretty easy once I figured out what it was. But I started creating the business the wrong way. I started setting Miriam's Miracle up as a business, as a coaching business to make revenue, to make money. Because that's what of this world people define our success as. In the business world, people are defined as successful of how many zeros you have after your net worth, of how many zeros you have after your paycheck. That no longer defines my success. My success is defined to me by how many people can I help? How many people can I help unlock their inner purpose in life? How many people can I help make their life stronger by realizing that to have that relationship with Jesus Christ is what is the most important thing. My success is measured by how many people can I help realize that, to get to heaven is you need to have that relationship. That's what my calling is. So I started setting this up as a business. I started getting my packages together of how much I needed to charge. I was going to do 3-month packages of 10 sessions, 12 sessions. This was the price it was going to be. And so I got all the structure down because that's what the business plan said I needed to do. And then I started meeting with some people and doing some discovery calls to find out, what they're looking to do. And then it came time to start talking about the money. And it's like I had marbles in my mouth. And I had cobwebs in my head, and I just couldn't think straight. And then I remember, and this is only going back about 4 days ago. I remember I was, 3 days ago, I was laying in bed with my wife, and she looked at me. She goes, "Hey, what's wrong?" I'm like, I set this all up wrong. Like I made a mistake. And now let me tell you, if you're going to do a venture and you're leaving your job, and you've left your income and you've left everything that you had behind, what you don't want to say to your wife in bed and saying, "I made a big mistake." Probably not the best thing to say, but that's what I said. And I was like, Mayor, I apologize for saying that, but I was like, I made a mistake. I set this up all wrong. I try to set my business up as to what works for me, not what works for God. So I've made a shift and a pivot, and it's still kind of in the structure of how it's going to all develop. But what I do know is I'm going to be offering my services for those people that can't afford a coach, for people that might not be able to afford the $500 or $600 a month to afford a life coach that can help walk them through going out and making the next journey in their life, to making that pivot or whatever it is.
Right.
I want to help people discover that, of what's next for them. We all have hopes. We all have dreams. But very few people can afford to have someone in their life to be able to answer those questions, to unlock that. That's where Miriam's Miracle comes in.
Right. You know, I think that's the perfect segue for me to pivot into my next question, which is, what is the one thing that you want the class to leave with this lesson with?
What's the one takeaway that I want the class to leave with? I think you need to listen to your heart. Like, you need to listen to your heart. You need to listen to what's important to you. And you need, like, you know what is, you know what you need to do. But so many times we bring our own limiting beliefs into things. We hear and we feel the vision of what we're supposed to be doing, but then we let the limiting beliefs kind of define that. And they say, well, those limiting beliefs are the things that say you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not tall enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have the right degree. There's a million limiting beliefs out there. Like, I would say, don't get wrapped up in those limiting beliefs. You know, when you get wrapped up in those limiting beliefs, that's what holds you down. Don't be afraid to break through the glass ceiling. Don't be afraid to kick your own lid that you placed onto your life. Don't be afraid to look up there and just take your foot and just kick the lid off. Because once you break through that glass ceiling, once you get past the limiting beliefs, and you can do anything.
Now, one last question before we wrap this up. I want you to tell us something personal about you that you want the class to know about you that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia. I know that's somewhat of a loaded question, especially being that you bared your heart and your soul to us and being completely transparent. But just out of curiosity, I want you to go ahead and answer that.
Well, I mean, man, that one's pretty easy. And my life has been defined by the success that society has put on me. If you find me on LinkedIn, you find me on Google, you find me all over the place there of things that are defining my success. But what people are not going to find on there is where my heart is now. And where my heart is now, and this is the power of Miriam's Miracle. I'm working on setting Miriam's Miracle up as a nonprofit, so that I can accept donations from people to be able to pay for the services that I'm going to be providing to the people that can't afford the services. And the business structure that I'm going to have with Miriam's Miracle is, after 3 months of coaching, I'm not going to tell you what you need to pay me. I'm going to let people just pay me what they feel the value is worth. And you talk about taking another step out on the faith. Is I'm putting all of my faith in that I'm removing all of the money from my control.
Right.
I'm going to let God define how much money I need.
Right.
I'm not putting price tags on anything. He will provide to me whoever needs to come through my path to provide me whatever service. And I know that by doing that, I will hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." So what you'll see on Google and you'll see on LinkedIn, you'll see on social media, is the love of me. It was all about me. It was all about me. Like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Right.
What you won't see on there now is the gift of giving back to everybody else. But you are going to see that soon with the launch of Miriam's Miracle.
That is amazing. That is the perfect place to draw this this lesson to an end. You know, this was a thought that I had before I hit the record button, was that here we have a person who is literally in the middle of his Genesis moment. And you gave us a front row seat, maybe not front row, but definitely in the middle, close to the front, right? And seeing your Genesis moment as it unfolds as of today, right? So again, I want to tell you, I appreciate you, brother. I love you. I thank you for coming into the School of Hard Knocks to teach us this lesson. And I want you to tell us, where can the class find you?
So there's several places you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. It looks like you have a lot of things up here on the screen there. Really the easiest way is you can get to me through email, and that's just simply phil@miriams-miracle.com. Or you can certainly call me on my cell phone, 630-453-8060, or through any of the social media platforms. All of my social media platforms, they're all open. They're all public viewing, so you can access me anywhere. And just reach out to me, man. I just want to talk to you. I want to find out what makes you tick. I want to find out what are your hurts and your hangups, and what are you looking to do. And the important thing I think people need to know, that with coaching is not therapy. What I'm doing is not about anything with your past. It's everything about your future.
And let me throw this tidbit in there. When you try to find Phil, you can find him at PHIL, and Munroe is spelled MUNROE.
Yep.
And that's on Instagram, Facebook, and everything like that, right?
Yeah, you can find me on any of the social media platforms. Yep.
Okay. Great.
And if you and Miriam, so I have a website too. Miriams-miracle.com.
Okay, great. Now I'll make sure I throw that in the link too. So with that being said, man, like I said, I appreciate you. I think this was a awesome lesson that you taught to the class. And I appreciate you again for coming out to the School of Hard Knocks and teaching us this. And to you, class, this guy just bared his heart and soul to us. I think it's only right that we go and check him out, see what he got going on, so that we could check up on Miriam's miracle. So, you know what I like to say at these times? Make sure you subscribe, rate, review us. Make sure you check us out as well, and pass this along to your friends and family and everybody else who you feel needs to hear this word. And with that, I'll bring this to a close by saying, class has concluded. And in everything that you chase after it with violent action. Class has concluded, and I will see you guys in the next one.
About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more. Greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before. And the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people towards that greatness with the guest professor that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after it with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.